something happened in practice that could drastically alter the course of the season. Two unexpected setbacks at a critical position exposed serious concerns about the squad's depth and forced the team into an urgent decision-making moment. With the organization's silence and tension mounting, what happens next could shape not only the start of the season, but its entire trajectory. If you're a die-hard fan, click the like button and comment below. Rise up. Now, on to the news. The Atlanta Falcons offensive line situation just went from concerning to potentially disastrous, and if you're a fan who's been watching closely this preseason, you know exactly why this could spiral quickly. There's no easy way to say it. Right now, we might be looking at a right tackle crisis in Atlanta, not just a bump in the road. We're talking about a full-on depth collapse. 2 hits in one day, and neither of them was part of the game plan. So let's unpack what's unfolding and why this could be one of the most critical storylines of the Falcons' early 2025 season. Earlier today during Falcons practice, Kaleb McGary was carted off the field. That's right, carted off. And as of now, there's no official update. All we know is he's undergoing an MRI, and the silence following that announcement is deafening. McGary is a cornerstone on the right side of the offensive line, especially crucial considering the unique quarterback dynamic this year with Michael Penix Jr. under center. And let's not forget, Penix is a lefty, which means McGary isn't just any tackle. He's protecting the blind side. That makes his potential absence even more impactful. But if that weren't bad enough, Falcons fans were hit with a second punch today. Storm Norton, the team's reliable backup tackle, is out. Ankle surgery. Doctors estimate he'll miss 6 to 8 weeks, putting his potential return somewhere around weeks 5 to 6. Realistically, that's October. So, in a single day, the Falcons went from having depth and flexibility at tackle to leaning heavily on a 7th-round rookie who, quite frankly, hasn't looked ready. Enter Jack Nelson. Drafted out of Wisconsin, Nelson was never expected to be thrust into a starting role this early. And based on his preseason performances, he's not there yet. Not even close. His zone blocking has been shaky. He's committed multiple pre-snap penalties, including 1 against the Lions and 2 against the Titans, and he's often been bailed out by more experienced teammates in pass protection. Now imagine that same player being tasked with guarding the blind side of your rookie quarterback. So what's the backup plan? One logical move would be to shift Elijah Wilkinson from guard to tackle. But that's not exactly a clean solution. Wilkinson is listed as a guard for a reason. He's more natural there. Moving him outside leaves another hole in the interior, right behind Matthew Bergeron. Suddenly, you're creating 2 problems to solve one. And it doesn't take a film analyst to recognize that the offensive line as a whole hasn't impressed this preseason. Despite head coach Raheem Morris expressing confidence in the unit, the tape says otherwise. They've been inconsistent, and now they're being asked to do even more with even less. This all raises a pressing question. Do the Falcons need to make a move? 2 options are on the table right now. One involves a trade, and the other a free agent signing. Let's break both down. First, let's talk about Jawaan Taylor. Currently the right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor is statistically solid. In 2024, he allowed just a 5% pressure rate and a 1% sack rate. That's elite protection. But, and this is a big but, he's also one of the most penalized linemen in the league. 17 penalties last year. That's 138th out of 140 in the league. Combine that with a hefty $20 million per year contract, and things get complicated. For the Falcons, his cost would come down to around $12.50 to $13 million after the Chiefs absorb dead cap. But here's the kicker, Atlanta only has $7 million in available cap space. So unless a major contract, like Kirk Cousins, gets moved, the numbers just don't work. And even then, Cousins likely wouldn't be of interest to Kansas City. They're not in the market for an expensive backup QB when they have Mahomes and a cheaper alternative in Gardner Minshew. So if not Jawaan Taylor, how about a more affordable, lower-risk option? Enter Jedrick Wills, former left tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Wills is a free agent, which means the Falcons could sign him today if they wanted. He has starting experience, 3 full seasons with the Browns, and only 3 penalties in 2024. But that number comes with a caveat. He only played 5 games due to injury. And that injury still lingers. In fact, Wills has reportedly told teams he's focused on rehabbing his leg and isn't ready to return to the field. But as we've seen countless times, players get the itch to return, especially when they see a real opportunity to contribute. The Falcons could roll the dice and offer him a one-year, veteran minimum deal. It's a classic prove-it scenario. Come in, protect the quarterback, and earn your next contract. But again, there's no guarantee he's healthy or willing. So here's the bottom line, none of these options are clean. Jack Nelson isn't ready. Wilkinson is a stopgap who creates another problem. Jawan Taylor is talented but expensive and penalty-prone. Jedrick Wills might be cheap and available, but he's a gamble on multiple fronts. Every potential solution comes with a major red flag. And just when fans were bracing for this wave of bad news, there was at least a glimmer of hope from the practice field. C.J. Henderson, recently signed just last Thursday, made a splash. The former first-round pick, selected 9th overall by Jacksonville in 2020, picked off Michael Penix Jr. in team drills and made his presence felt. "I just want to keep stacking up good performances," Henderson said, exactly the kind of grounded, hungry mentality that this defense needs right now. We also saw DeMarco Hellams wearing a yellow non-contact penny, something that raised a few eyebrows among fans. But Coach Raheem Morris calmed those concerns, calling it a precautionary move. The coaching staff is clearly preserving Hellams for a bigger defensive role in 2025, and they're taking no unnecessary risks. Still, the major headline today is the Falcons' offensive line turmoil and how the team plans to respond to the sudden instability at right tackle. Whether it's an internal shuffle, a trade, or a last-minute signing, action needs to happen, and soon. So now I'm turning it over to you. If you had to choose between trading for Jawan Taylor or signing Jedrick Wills, who would you pick? Type JT for Jawan Taylor or JW for Jedrick Wills in the comments and let's get the conversation going. Because here's the thing, doing nothing isn't an option. The Falcons are entering a season where expectations are high. A new quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., a fresh coaching staff led by Raheem Morris, and a fan base starving for real progress. And now, just weeks before kickoff, the most critical piece of protection for your franchise quarterback is in question. You can't afford to roll the dice with a rookie who's struggling. You can't patch together a line on the fly with players playing out of position. And you certainly can't sit back and hope for the best when your starting right tackle is carted off and your primary backup is in a walking boot post-surgery. The cap constraints add another layer of complexity. With only $7 million in available space, the Falcons are in a tight spot. To make a move, something has to give. Could a restructured deal, a backloaded contract, or even a surprising player release be on the table? Possibly. But one way or another, GM Terry Fontenot will have to get creative. This is what defines a front office, how they respond when the plan falls apart before week 1. And there's urgency here not just for protection, but for momentum. Let's not forget that the offensive line's performance sets the tone for the entire offense. You've got Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts all primed for breakout years. But none of that matters if the line can't give Penix time or open holes in the run game. One weak link, especially at right tackle, can derail everything. So Falcons Nation, we're at a crossroads. We're looking at a defining moment in the lead-up to this season. Will the team trust a shaky rookie? Will they pull the trigger on a bold trade? Or will they take a chance on a rehabbing vet with something to prove? Let me know what you would do in the comments, and if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss a single update. We've got a long season ahead, and every move counts. Go Falcons!